Arcane writers don't write good female characters, they just write good characters, and most of them happen to be female. Hello everyone and welcome back to Emmeline's Writing Club. Sometimes I say Emil, sometimes I say Emmeline. I never know which name to use. My name is Emmeline and I sometimes use Emil. It's a little bit of a sketch writing journal that I do as a podcast. As I am currently writing my first book ever, I struggle and I wanted to record all of that, hoping that it can help people out there. And of course, as usual, if there's anything you struggle with and you want to talk about, don't hesitate to leave it in the comments so that we can make more episodes. And also keeping me on tracks with my writing. This poster is playing with my nerves. It's gonna stay down because I don't have the energy to pick it up again. Anyway, enough talking for this introduction that is starting to be a little too long. Let's dive into the topic of today, which is how to represent well women in writing, how to write good female characters. Because honestly, even though I'm a woman, I know I have a lot to learn about this. We all have to kind of question ourselves, even us as women, to think of the best way to represent women in books, in movies. And as I'm currently writing my characters, which is moving pretty well, and it's been a long time that I haven't written that much. Since the last episode, I talked about writing more scenes with my characters, and I write a few scenes and they're starting to come alive and it is so fun. Like, I'm kind of falling in love with some of my characters, I'm gonna be honest. But as I create my characters, I inspire myself a lot from Arcane, again, because it is a show that is so well written and there's so many things to learn from it. I realized that in a lot of medias we lack well written female characters. As Arcane, for those who've watched Arcane, you know that the female in Arcane are just so well written. Everyone knows it. It's just so obvious that they're amazingly written. I made some research on how did the creator wrote those characters. How did they make them good? And then of course through my research, I kind of went away from Arcane a little bit to find more information. But to be honest, this is going to be talking a lot about Arcane. And I found so many interesting things and advice that I can put into my writing to make my female character more deep and interesting. I wanted to share a little bit with you everything that I found that I think really made me think twice when I saw a female character on screen, because I realized how badly we've been represented for years. As it's kind of a social topic, there's a lot of chance that you disagree with what I say, which is completely okay because there are different ways to represent women. There are so many different women on this earth. Every woman is different, so every woman needs different representations. So if you disagree with me, I would love to hear your point of view because I really want to deepen my knowledge on this so that my female characters can really represent well women and that it can help women, because that's also why we write stories, to kind of depict what happens in real life and make us connect with the characters. And if I can make you connect with the characters better by learning from what you have to say, I would love to. So if you have anything to add, don't hesitate to add it in the comments because I would love to learn more about this. In today's media, movies, shows, books, most of the time I feel like women are represented either in the cliche of a woman, which most of the time does not represent us, the view that men can have of women that is so not the reality because they don't try to understand us in a deeper level, or it's going to be a man in the body of a woman, which I do not relate to, and most women will not relate to either. And I had to ask myself, what makes the difference then between a male character and a female character? What is the difference in their experiences? I found a few ideas. It's really large ideas, and I'd like to dive into it a little bit more in another episode if I have time. The first point that I found was create your female characters more active. I saw this TikTok not a long time ago where someone collected many scenes from different movies where girls were like, what are we gonna do? Turn towards the male character and he knows what to do and find a decision. To be honest, from what I know from real life, it is not how it works. Every time I see a couple in real life, the one taking the lead is the woman. The one knowing everything about the children is the woman. The one knowing what to do is the woman. And the person asking for, should I do this? What should I take? What should I buy? What should I this? Is the man. And somehow in movies, it's always the girl asking, what should we do? No. The girls know what to do. Female characters, They know what to do. They're in the action. So many times in those movies, when I think of the Indiana Jones and stuff, most of the female characters are just going to be passive. They're going to be reacting to stuff and not acting. And every character needs a bit of both. You need some times for reaction and you need some time for action. And I really want my female characters in my book to be active. I think we need way more active female characters. And when you think about it, in Arcane, even the women that fight the less, well, I was about to present Mel, but let's be honest, in season 2, she really decided to punch a guy or two. Even in the first season, she takes decisions, she moves things, and she is active. A lot of people criticize the fact that she's manipulative. Others say that she's not, and that people put this on her just because she's a woman. I think she's manipulative, but I think she knows what she's doing, and I think it's her strength. And I don't see it as a bad thing because it just makes her super clever. And this is being in the action. Buying this toy at the very beginning of the season and giving it to one of the counselor so that he votes like her is action. She's not reacting, she's acting to make sure that she gets what she wants. And this is what we want more in our female characters. And that's really what I want to put into my characters. I really want them to be more in the action than the reaction. I grew up with so many characters who were so much in the reaction. Sometimes when you look at Twilight, even though I love Twilight, there's so many scenes where the character will be. She doesn't seem to be taking that many decisions. And every time I daydreamed when I was a child, the daydreaming was always me reacting to stuff, and I was never in the action, which I grew up a little bit out of it, and now when I daydream, I think more of the action and stuff than reacting to things. But I really grew up in this idea that women were mostly reacting than acting, and I want to change this representation in my writing. And let's compare it to other female characters, because I talked about Mel, but can we talk about, for example, Jinx? She feels like Silco, she feels like he doesn't see her worth. So what is she going to do? She go and steal the gemstone. She is in the action. Even though she still stays in the reaction sometimes, she still acts. She does things to change the plot and to change her future. She has a hold onto what is going to happen to her. Same for Vi, but this one is pretty obvious. When she's a child and she needs to protect her friends and go to save Vander, she is going to do it. She's the one leading everyone. Second point that I found that were really missing was for those female characters to have internal and external struggles. I think we talked about this in one of the episodes about internal and external struggles. Through my research, I found this term that I didn't know before, which is Mary Sue. From what I understood, it is a character that is given everything and is powerful without struggling. So everything will be given to her. She will be able to achieve anything. But it is not really fun to follow a character that can do everything, that does not struggle. It removes from her value, because if you give her everything, then what does she have to learn? Nothing. Some articles talked about the fact that using the word Mary Sue, or like the expression Mary Sue, was a little bit sexist because we didn't use it as much for men. For men, there's the term Gary Stew, I think. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. But I think, even though I can agree on a certain level, I think if we use Marys to way more, it's because it's not as often that we see male characters that are given everything and do not struggle. Even Superman has weakness, and he's gonna struggle, and he's gonna have a hard time going through what happens to him. Most of the time when we do this, it's to female characters in order to show that we're feminist and we show very strong women. Look, they're capable of doing anything. You can do whatever a man can do. But representation is not about that. If you give everything to a character, there's no point of having a story. To be honest, I don't really mind if there are some stories with Mary Sue, but for the few times that we're represented, it would be good to have good representations where we really have characters that struggle and learn something on the way. I feel like today, a lot of people who don't have enough information on feminism and how to represent women well think that to represent women like women want is to represent them strong and capable of doing anything. But what is the point if your character doesn't learn anything on the way? That's the whole objective of having a story to tell. And I think women's experiences are going to be different. Women's struggles are different than men's struggles. We can struggle on the same things, yes, but I feel like sometimes the way a woman is going to react to this problem, to this struggle, is going to be different. Also because we are seen different in our society. Most of the time we have double standards for women and men, which most of the time make it harder for women. Those double standards can be taken out of just feminism. It can be also for people of color. It will be also for queer people. You can also have double standards here, which is why I think those struggles are going to be faced differently, because those characters have been shaped differently by the society they live in, depending on their status in society. I hope I'm using the right words. Don't hesitate to correct me, by the way, if I make any mistakes. And kind of related to that struggle and that need for change, we need good character arcs. We want those characters to learn something from those different experiences and those struggles they face. We want them to change, we want them to evolve, and this evolution can be good or bad. Because I also write stories to make ourselves question our existence and what we experience in life and how to face different things. It's kind of related with the point before. Without struggling, you don't change. So if you don't have struggles, you don't have character arcs. So we need to make sure that those female characters have the possibility to change, have the possibility to evolve and to learn and to become someone new. We're not something that will never change and stay still in time. We change, we learn, we make mistakes, which leads us to the next point. We need our female characters to be imperfect. And when you look at arcane characters, they are so imperfect, but it makes them human, and that is what works. If you make female characters perfect, like they're always at the best shape, and again, they don't struggle, and they can do everything, we don't recognize ourselves in that, because we're all human. We're women, but we're also human. We make mistakes. We do things wrong. We want to see this on screen so that we connect with those characters. We want to connect with the characters. If we don't connect, it's going to be difficult to like those characters at any point. So that's kind of why I really want to make sure my characters are imperfect the way arcane characters are imperfect, in a way that we can relate to them. When you think about Jinx, she is very dependent on others, and not just Silco. This is the obvious one, but also on her sister when she's younger, a little bit on Isha when she comes into her life. Do you remember the way Jinx reacts when she learns that Isha is in jail? She falls apart. This is a struggle that can be understood by the audience and that can make us connect with the character. When I think of Vi, she is impulsive. It's one of her issues. When you think about the fact that she was supposed to lay low so that Silco does not know about her existence and doesn't know that she escaped jail, and the first thing she does is go and beat Savika, this is not rational. This is impulsive. It is one of her problems. When you look at Caitlyn, she is a little too innocent. She has been fed propaganda for years. She is really judgmental of Zonites that she meets, thinking she knows them, but there's a lot she has to learn. It is a world that she has never been in. She has learned a lot from what people told her, but not experienced it. So she is really innocent from where she starts at the beginning. She's really innocent because she learned all that through people telling her those stories. She never learned it through experience. And her going out of her comfort zone is going to make her change through that. Her imperfection is knowing about the world without experience and judging people without knowing much about them. And also something that I love about the characters in Arcane that I want to take back into my writing is how most characters, their best qualities make their worst flaw. I'm thinking most of the time about Vi, and I'm wondering right now if I didn't talk about it in another episode. That's highly possible. Vi's biggest strength, according to me, is that she is going to take care of everyone. She is ready to fight for her people. When she learns about Vander being kidnapped, her first reaction is acting, going for it, going to save him. She wants to take care of the people around her, as she wants to take care of Jinx every time she makes a mistake, making sure that she feels good and that she doesn't feel left behind like Milo is trying to make her feel like. She is someone who cares for others around her, but sometimes she cares too much and she ends up hurting them. I always think of the scene between Vi and Jinx and Silco where Jinx is just tortured by Vi trying to remind her that she used to be Powder. And by trying to save her, Vi is also hurting her a lot. So that's something that I really want to put into my characters, my female characters. For them to be imperfect, I want those imperfections to make sense with the rest of their characters so that it adds depth to who they are. I remember reading this, and that is kind of what made me want to write about female characters in Arcane and how they made me want to improve my female characters. It's Arcane writers don't write good female characters, they just write good characters, and most of them happen to be female. I loved this because if we look at all the points that we underlined, if we think about action, if we think about struggles, if we think about being imperfect, if we think about character arc, if we think about all those things we talked about, it's things that are good to create good female characters, but actually it is good points to create good characters in general. It's just that the experience of a woman is going to be a little different, so their struggles are going to be different, but all those points are what makes good characters. And because they're lacking in most female characters that we see on screen or in books, then it makes those female characters non-relatable, not fun to follow, shallow. Just relearning the basics was, I think, something that I needed to do to make sure that my female characters can be allowed to be good characters and can be allowed to connect with the readers. As all of this is a lot about women experience, and that there are as many women experiences as there are women on this earth, it's a good reminder to think that women have to listen to other women in order to write good female characters. Men have to listen to women in general to write good female characters. It's about women's experiences that we need to put into books. Even I as a woman need to learn from other women's, because we all have our experiences and we are all different. We all need our own type of representation, and we cannot write characters if we don't try to get interested in other people, here especially women. If we don't get interested in women, how can we represent them well? I think it's a lot about allowing female characters to be human and tell and represent women experiences in general. These are most of the points that I wanted to cover. As I said at the beginning of the video, it is really basic things on how to write good female characters. This video isn't really like a lesson on how to write female characters. Actually, none of those videos on this podcast are lessons. It's mostly things that I learned and I try to put into my brain so that it stays in my brain and that I can keep writing and improving on this writing. But it was mostly a good reminder for me to make sure that the female characters that I write, because there's going to be a lot of them, I want them to be powerful, not in a way that they can beat everyone without struggling, but in a way that they can represent women well and empower them. I think that's a good moment to stop before I start over explaining everything. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it a lot, and I might re-listen to this episode to just like remind me all of this when I write my female characters so that I don't fall into the cliches. I hope it helped you, or at least that you enjoyed it, spending a little bit of time with me. I hope to see you in 2 weeks for another episode. I am trying to be more regular, especially with my vlogs as an au pair. It is really hard to figure things out because I want to explore the world, but I still want to make this podcast and I still want to write. So I'm trying to put things up together and try to make things work. I am not forgetting you. The episodes, I try at least to have my podcast on time, and if the vlogs are a little late, it's okay. But I will try to post this on time and make sure that you have this episode on time. I loved filming it, and I love this new setup, even if it's kind of like a messy setup. I'm so comfortable. I think the fact that I'm just on my bed, I'm just so nice here. Anyway, it's kind of off topic. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and I will see you online. Keep writing, guys.